and welcome to My Xbox and Me, episode 396. You would think, us being that close, I would know what we're doing for episode 400. I do not. I am one of your hosts, MC Fixer, alongside the one and only Mr. Matt P. Video. Matt, how are you?
I'm very well, mate. I'm very well indeed. The voice is a little bit croaky. Wales played England in rugby yesterday.
I always forget how big a rugby fan you are.
We lost. We were always going to lose.
We didn't lose. We won.
England won.
We won.
Indeed. Yeah.
You live in my country. Sure. You have to support my team. That's how it works, right?
Definitely not how it works.
It's not how it works? Oh, God, I got it wrong again. I got it wrong again. Was you
but
there?
We were always going to... No. I just went to a pub with the family. We were always going to lose, but it didn't go quite as horrendously as anticipated. And so that's a win in my book.
We take those.
That's
definitely a win. Bro, Chris not here this week. He's got some other things on, so obviously not here. I heard I really should stop saying this, but I find it hilarious personally. But I heard he got hit by a car, so yeah, that's why he's not here. I really should stop though, because there's gonna be something that happens, and then I'm gonna be like, "Holy shit! Did I put that out there in the universe?"
Yeah, one day.
I mean, to be fair, like I can't control if a car hits him, though, can I? Let's be honest.
No.
Let's be honest. Happy to confirm a couple of things. I confirmed it 2 weeks ago, but I have officially booked up to be in Vegas, as you all know, in October for TwitchCon, and I'm happy to confirm I will also be going to TwitchCon in July. So if you want to come say hello, that's in France. If you want to come say hello, if you want to come see me, if you want to come, I'm hoping, fingers crossed, I'm going to put this out there in the universe. I'm going to apply to perform some roleplay music because they've got like a live music stand. So I'm like, yeah, do you know what? I'd love to go and do a little 30-minute set and perform some of my roleplay music live. I love performing live. It's one of the best things ever. Something I miss doing. There's not many things I miss from my 18-year-old self. I missed the weight I was because I got called fat then, but I wasn't even that fat, and now I'm really fat. And I miss performing because I was performing like every week. So I miss that. I miss that a lot.
So
a lot.
At TwitchCon, then I'm assuming,
yeah,
Twitch has a whole music side that I don't even know about of just IRL streamers streaming music.
Yes,
and so that'll be mainly for them. It's less a video game thing necessarily, more of a actual, kind of not actual, but you know what I mean.
No, yeah. Actual musicians, not like me. Actual talented people. Yeah, no, Twitch has got its own music category. That obviously there's a bunch of amazing talented people who go on every day and write songs for people, and they can do crazy stuff. But yeah, I'm just gonna go and do my roleplay stuff because I still feel into that music category very strangely. So.
Yeah. And I'm assuming the roleplay scene at TwitchCon is huge, like the people from GTA RP. That's a big portion of those people, right?
Oh, probably. Yes. Very, very, very big. When I went to the one in Amsterdam last year. Yeah, it was last year. I had to think about that. Last year, the meetup was the best part of it. Just like
for sure.
All these people that you roleplay with who know of you, and like people will come up to me and asking for photos and saying how much they love the music. And so you're like, this is as close as I'm getting to being a real life musician, and I will take it. Okay? I will take it.
The metaverse is real, and it lives in GTA 5.
It certainly does. If you didn't know, this is My Xbox and Me, our weekly Xbox podcast, where we talk about all things Xbox, and, we dabble into other things. That's the and me of this damn podcast. You can get it early over on patreon.com/mcfixer, or you can go over to youtube.com/myxboxandme, support the show by hitting the subscribe button, hit the like button, drop a goddamn comment. Let us know. I really want to, I said it last week, and I got a couple of tweets. I did get a couple of tweets. I love doing this podcast. I love it. But on a Sunday morning at 10 o'clock, it does kind of feel like an inconvenience sometimes. Let's be honest.
No. To be fair, my fault this week. I was like, hey, really? I can't do a lot of the evenings that we normally would do.
But you know what always gets me through the day? There's a positive to what I was saying there. Is whenever I see a tweet, just a tweet saying, yo, I listen to the podcast, I enjoy it, because sometimes with Twitch, you get instant gratification. You go live, there's people in chat. You get your subs, you follow, there's people interacting with you every single day. With YouTube, same thing. You put a video up, numbers, comments, people stealing your content. That's what happens to me regularly now. Instant gratification. Podcasting isn't like that. It really isn't like that. You sit here for an hour talking, and then it just goes out there into the ether. You don't know who's listening. You don't know who cares. So obviously, if you're on social media, please be sure, let us know you enjoy the show, because we're approaching episode 400. It can go two ways. Either we're in the podcast forever, and that's it. 400 weeks, we had a good run, or we keep going, and I find us a decent guest. I'd say decent. I can't do anything above decent. All right.
I mean, you're already putting down whoever it is you end up getting. Could just be Haley. Finally, we get a Disney Dreamlight Valley review. Finally. Oh my god, unbelievable! What I was gonna say, like piggybacking off what you just said, like it's easy as well to forget. Like when we get we got the tweets last week, like, hey, where are the videos? It's easy to forget that like people are like waiting on that sort of stuff, and like we get we get questions every week. Origin Cookie Man, I'm sure we got a question from this week. Dover, I'm sure we got a question from this week. But it's easy to forget there are lots of other people who just enjoy and watch and listen, who don't necessarily comment and talk about the podcast, and we appreciate you all so very much.
No, absolutely.
And please do nag us when the video doesn't go live or whatever, because sometimes we need it.
Hey, Angel Boy, I see you. Yeah, I see you. You're like, yo, where's the video? And I'm like, and do you know what hit me real hard? Where he's like, I've seen every single one, and I'm like,
I know.
That's a lie, though, Angel Boy, because I've definitely missed videos before. So you've definitely lied there. Just so you know, you've definitely lied. Okay.
It was two in a row that got him.
I'll be honest with you, that was bad from me. That was bad from me. Okay, two in a row is bad. These things happen. But
these things happen.
It's life. It's life. Topic of the show this week, Matt. PlayStation had a little state of play for February, and you might be thinking to yourself, this isn't a PlayStation podcast. Why the hell are we talking about that? Well, because they happen to show off a couple of things that relate back to us over here in Xbox land. The first of being Rocksteady showed an extended look of the new Suicide Squad game, Kill the Justice League. It was probably the biggest look we got of the game so far. It was about 6 minutes of gameplay, roughly, give or take. We got to see some gameplay from, obviously, King Shark, Harley Quinn, Captain Boomerang, Deadshot. What did you think of what you saw, if you saw it?
I did indeed see it. Yeah, I don't know. I keep flip-flopping on this game, man. Like, when the screens got leaked and there were all the currencies and all the battle passes, I was like, oh, this isn't what I want. But then at the beginning of this gameplay, they talk about how it's connected to the Arkham universe, but very different. And, yeah, and kind of saying all the right stuff. And then when the gameplay hit, I saw a lot of mixed reactions online. I thought it looked great. Like, I thought it looked really, like, kinetic and fast and interesting. It wasn't as melee-based as I thought it would be, but maybe I don't mind that. I don't know. Like, and I like the idea that I can play the single player, that I can switch between all the characters if I'm doing that. And yeah, I'm excited for a story in that universe again. And yeah, like sort of tonally and story-wise, everything they're showing, I'm really into. And we recently had a game come out, Hogwarts Legacy, fuck J.K. Rowling, where we were saying in the lead up to that, oh, this gameplay don't look like it's gonna hit.
Yeah.
And then guess what? That gameplay is great. And so
it's funny. It's funny you bring that up. It seems like it's the opposite of like what keeps me in Hogwarts Legacy actually isn't the story, which is surprising for me for the world and its environments and obviously what goes on in that world. I love, but its actual moment to moment story, I'm a bit like,
yeah, totally.
Okay, cool, whatever. Like, I'm not really into this as much as I thought I would be.
No.
Then you go to Suicide Squad. I'm very much. I didn't love what I saw gameplay wise. It was very shooter heavy, which I wasn't expecting, and I was like, okay. And I don't know. It felt like each of the characters, they looked like they played very similar. Very, very, very similar.
Definitely.
To me. It, like, they showed off all these different points of views on each of the characters, and I was just a bit like, maybe this is just a bad demo, and you're playing it each of the characters pretty much look like they did the exact same thing in the moment there's one moment I'm very thinking of when they're flying. Each of them are traversing in their own unique way, but it just didn't impress me. And it's one of those ones where I'm like, okay, I hope the story here is really good, because that will be what gets me through, because the gameplay looked a little bit generic. I hate to say it, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know, I get it. I think for me, it's still just slightly tickling that Sunset Overdrive vibe.
But that's what I didn't like about it. If I'm honest, that's
Oh,
literally what
okay.
I thought as soon as I saw it. Was like, it's still not. It still doesn't look as clean as Sunset. If I'm being honest with you, in terms of its traversal.
Yeah.
Again, this is all based off something I've seen. Again, I didn't care about Hogwarts Legacy's gameplay until I played it, and I was like, wow,
Yeah.
this is very good. So everything can be changed as soon as you get your hands on the game. At the end of the day, but yeah, I'm more interested in the story for Suicide Squad than I am the gameplay. I'm sure if it's me and you, or me and you and Crash, or whoever, I'm sure that will help me get through it a lot easier. But yeah, it just didn't mesh the way I wanted it to. But it could just be this gameplay demo as well.
Yeah, I get that, and you know, it's easy as well, and maybe I've overcorrected slightly because I'm very conscious in my head of being like, it's not Gotham Knights. Like, I need to separate it from Gotham Knights.
Yeah.
4 characters running around a DC universe, and I'm like, oh, it hurt me so bad. But I had fun playing that game with you, even though it's not a good game. And so, like,
that's true.
If this is a good game and we play it together, I'm gonna have a fucking blast, I'm sure. And like I say, like, I agree with absolutely everything you're saying. Every cutscene they show, the humor, what's going on, I'm in, dude. Like, they're hitting all of the notes that I need to be hit for that kind of story. And so, I'm excited to get my hands on it. But that's what I need to do now, is get my hands on it. Don't need to see any more of it. Like, you don't need to overly explain the currencies and the this and the that and the da-da-da. Let's get it out of the door and get it in people's hands when it's ready, obviously. Obviously, we're seeing vertical slices, and so we'll see. But I would have thought it launches in a good state. That team are talented.
Yeah, they spoke about, obviously, post-launch content, including cosmetics, obviously the Battle Pass gear score systems, which I know has people either one way or the other. Either you love it or you hate it. You think this ends up in the same fate as Marvel's Avengers, where, like, it'll come out, it will hit with the core audience of certain people that will love it, and then it will die off very quickly? Or do you think this could be one that sees the test of time?
My instinct is that hopefully not. Like, because what Marvel's Avengers was trying to do, and I think what they were trying to overly explain, was like, you're going to be replaying these levels a lot, and you're going to be gearing up ready for a raid. I don't feel like Kill the Justice League is that.
True.
I feel like they're saying you're going to play this great contained story.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll do post content, we'll do post launch content, we'll do cosmetics and stuff. But I don't feel like we're gearing up for a raid. You know, like, I don't think that's the vibe they're going for with this. And so I think that's what really hurt Marvel's Avengers. That, and they came out with this big roadmap and then couldn't deliver on time and got people kind of angry in that sense. And so hopefully not. Hopefully no game ever ends up again like Marvel's Avengers did. But that is the greatest example of, like, just because you've got the IP doesn't mean you've got a hit on your hands. Like, you know, it could all go down the drain, right? And but I feel like it's a good time for Kill the Justice League to come out. There's a lot of hype around DC at the moment, and a lot of conversation, good and bad, around DC at the moment, as far as, like, sort of the cinematic universe goes. And so, I'm excited for the game. This got me more excited for the game, but I want to get my grubby little mitts on it now.
Grubby mitts indeed. I've seen them. They're definitely grubby. Next up, we had a couple of things coming out from Capcom during this showcase. Capcom revealed 3 new characters for Street Fighter 6. Obviously, me and you are not the biggest fighting game fans. Crash is. But I am actually excited for Street Fighter 6. Obviously, you know, this trailer didn't do as much for me because it was obviously announcing these new characters, which we got Zangief, Lily, and Cammy, who have all been confirmed now for Street Fighter 6. It did nothing for me because I'm not a Street Fighter fan like that. I'm sure for the fighting game community they loved it. But I am excited for this game. Every time I see it, I'm like, oh yeah, I forget how excited I actually am for this game, and especially for its story mode. Like, I can't wait for that. That should be a good time.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, I feel the same way about it. I'm probably not going to pick it up day one unless I'm lucky enough to get a code. And so yeah, it's just so not up my alley, right? And I'm sure Crash should have a lot more to say on it. But
Yeah.
like, I thought Zangief would have like that's a name I know, and so
Yeah.
I thought that would have been a given that that's him. But I guess that's really exciting for people, which is great. A totally new character in Lily as well. Great. I'm sure the fans are really excited for it. And it seems like like a lot of love and care going into this game, and so hopefully it has that longevity with the esports community. I'm sure it will.
If it's
But
good.
this feels like it could be if it's
If
good.
it's good, it will have longevity. If it's not good, it won't last. It won't last. They'll
Sure.
go back to Melee. Different audiences. Different audience. I'm joking. Next up is a game, obviously, I think the world is excited for. Resident Evil 4. We got to see more of that. A game I've kind of skipped around in terms of what I've seen so far, which is crazy because I used to be a reactioner. So I used to react to all this content. So now that I pick and choose what I watch is very interesting. I think this game's going to be really, 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 really good. Really, 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 really good. Everything that I've seen so far from Resident Evil 4 tells me that it's going to be good.
Yeah.
The problem I have with Resident Evil 4 is it seems like it may stick just too close to Resident Evil 4 in terms of when I look at this. It's like that thing where you retrospectively think everything looks better in your head. If you go back to Resident Evil 1, now it's like, no, it looks like the way Remake looked when I was a kid, if you know what I'm trying to say there.
Yeah, for sure.
Where I look at Resident Evil 4 and I go, wow, this looks phenomenal. This looks absolutely amazing. But it doesn't give me that same sense of new that Resident Evil 2 Remake did. Because they drastically changed that story. And obviously, that game was in 1996, and this game, Resident Evil 4, came out in 2004, 5.
Somewhere around there. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Like it's so difficult for them to be able to strike that balance. 2005. Oh, we weren't far off at all.
Yeah,
it's so difficult for them to be able to strike that balance of like. It's a modern enough game that it's not like Resident Evil 2 in the sense that it needs to be really reworked. But you got to give people something fresh and new that feels right. That like it's such a harder balance to strike, I think, as opposed to Resident Evil 2, where it was like, let's just throw it out the door, keep the police station, and kind of do our own thing here. So yeah,
I think the biggest problem I have is I wanted this to. Again, I'm talking from a Resident Evil fan point of view, obviously here, which is like I wanted it to change the story a little bit, and it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. They also wouldn't show that, to be honest with you. So yeah, everything about this game is beautiful. Looking at Louise in this trailer, he's getting his screen time that he deserves. Looking at Ashley in this trailer, she looks amazing. Seeing obviously out the enemy types and the way they've really built on that. I'm not saying this game isn't good, isn't amazing, doesn't look good, and I'm not saying it isn't changes. It's just I look at the Krauser fight, which looks amazing. It looks very different as well. It looks very different, but it looks very similar to what we've done before. So I wonder how different that will be when I actually play it. And those are the little things that I'm just like, I remember this too well to it just feels a little bit too familiar. So yeah, I'm interested. And once again, I'm damn interested to see what they do with Resident Evil 5 if that ever happens. There's no way they do it, right?
I don't know. I feel like more so with 5 certainly than 6. The conversation feels like it's changed slightly to be like, hey, you know what? That was a fun co-op game, as opposed to like 6, which I don't see a lot of people trying to defend.
No. 6 doesn't need a remake. It doesn't need a remake. It needs a everything. Just redo it all.
Yeah.
One thing I will give this trailer credit for, just one last thing before you go on or whatever, is it does look darker than what Resident Evil 4 originally did in terms of I think that's probably the RE engine that helps with that a lot. It does this sounds stupid, but it does really well in making games look very wet, but not in a bad way.
Yeah.
Wet and dark and gloomy and yeah, it's a great engine for Resident Evil, especially. It's a great engine. And yeah, I like what I see, and it does look a little bit dark, and that was always my biggest gripe with Resident Evil 4. It was the game, I always say it, not as it is a negative for a Resident Evil fan, but it's not to the way it changed gaming, but it was the game that ruined Resident Evil.
Yeah.
And this does look like it's a little bit more closer to what 1, 2, 3 were. So that's really cool. It's really cool.
Yeah, yeah. And I think there are a lot of subtle things they can do to, not totally drastically change this thing, but just add a little bit more depth. Like in Village, the Duke, the trader, references the trader from 4, right? And like it'd be nice if they just dropped something in to that, even just to like pull it all together a little bit more. Yeah, just something really subtle, something nice. Like there's lots of things they can do with that, and I think like Resident Evil is going through this kind of a bit of a revitalization right at the moment, and 2 obviously started that. 2 remake obviously started that. But yeah, and maybe this is. I mean, we'll get onto it a little bit. But I've been playing Village, and and yeah, like we'll chat about it a bit. We'll chat about it a bit. But yeah, like I'm getting more into Resi again, and excited for this.
This
and like
game
I say,
comes out next month, bro.
I know, but there's still stuff between now and then. Like I'm not going to be tired or anything. Like we're eating well this year already.
Oh, we'll talk about that in a bit. Yeah,
probably too well, so much so that we just can't get to it all. But there we go.
They announced there's going to be a demo coming, which obviously is very, very Resident Evil. They always play out demos for their games, which I love. And also Mercenaries mode has been confirmed to be in the game, which I believe this was the first Mercenaries mode that ever went into a Resident Evil game. No, what came first? Code Veronica or this? Shit. Code Veronica came first. I think Code Veronica was first, then this, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong, though. I might be wrong about that.
Do people care? Like when I've tried Mercenaries, I kind of get it. I kind of enjoy it.
I've never understood it personally. I understand it for the first time you play it, but beyond the first play, I'm like, okay, I've done that now. Who cares?
I think for me, it's kind of like speedrunning light. Like I'm never going to get so in depth that I learn how to speedrun these games. Yeah. But if you give me a little confined area and tell me I'm building up points and multipliers if I do this thing quickly, now I'm more intrigued.
Yeah,
so maybe it's like a little gateway drug into speedrunning.
Maybe, but I just, you know.
Hey, look, more content can't be a bad thing in a game that I'm sure will be great.
True. Let's move on. Nothing else left. Everything else that was shown in this was obviously PlayStation related. The last thing, I am not talking about it because I just don't care. There was a bunch of Destiny stuff. If you like Destiny, go out there and find it. Enjoy it. Unless you've got something to add on it that you really care about. I didn't think you would. Crush ain't here, so I just didn't see the point.
Other than it was a good trailer. Like it was cool.
Trailer's amazing.
It was hype.
Good, very good trailer. Very good trailer.
They do good stuff at Bungie.
They do. Let's give a shout out to our Patreon producer, Erengard. Thank you very much for the support this month, my friend. We do appreciate you. Let's jump into what's been in our box. Matt, you can kick us off. What have you been playing?
Resident Evil Village on PlayStation VR 2, which is what I was getting to. So, been playing a lot of PSVR 2. Obviously, not super relevant to our audience. But
maybe no, it's not. It's not in a way. Obviously, it's not. But in the same breath, we don't have VR over here in Xbox world.
Sure.
And I'm sure there's a higher portion of people who listen to this podcast who play on PC. So they'll be interested in the experience nonetheless. And I want to hear your opinion anyway. So let's start off with your opinion on PSVR 2 as a whole, and then we'll get into the Resident Evil, all right?
Sure. I think when it was announced, and I think we've had a conversation about this, maybe it was off the pod, but like the idea of bringing out a VR headset in 2023 that costs this much and has a wire that tethers you to your console seems mad. But it's kind of great.
Okay.
It's great. Like I've been playing a lot of Quest this year as well, like Quest 2. and a bit of last year and stuff. And like the step up is significant.
It
like,
is, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. The way that it blocks out light, so that you're not getting any sort of leak through, is huge. The OLED screens in there, creating those deep blacks. I've played Resident Evil Village several times. I know how the opening of that game goes.
Yeah.
Every fiber of my being is telling me not to walk out into that forest. Like, it is truly terrifying. Like I know that game really well. Like, it's not something that would scare me now. But the idea of playing through that game enough to get to the like basement sequence with that horrifying baby thing.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll do it. I don't think I can get myself there. Like, that would be horrifying, and I haven't got that far yet. But like, yeah, it's great. I think it's a massive shame that there aren't more games out right now that are taking advantage. Like Call of the Mountain's good. I think Village is actually a better showcase of what it can do and be. But they're, old game is old, as we say, and everything else pretty much is old, and you can play on Quest or you could play elsewhere. But yeah, look, it's a lot of money, but it's a bit of hardware their Xbox doesn't have, and it surprises me they don't have.
I'm not surprised anymore.
Only in the sense that, like, why don't they just go make a deal with Meta?
That I don't understand. That I agree with you. I don't understand why they've not partnered with somebody. The only thing I can think of is they waited to see if there would be a huge adoption rate and then jump in at the next point. Not even where we're at now. Because again, we need it to be as good as what you're saying without it being tethered.
Yeah. But look, we're gonna, most likely get a Meta Quest 3 this year. And so that could be the difference. If Meta Quest 3 comes out, it's cheaper than PSVR, and it's just got just enough extra to sort of, it's mainly the light leakage, I think. Like, if
the light leakage doesn't bother me on my Quest 2 ever.
Maybe it's because I'm playing a horror game. Like, I know, so I played the demo for Village on Quest and then played it on PSVR, sorry. And the difference is huge. Like, just the level of contrast, being able to see into the darkness or not, and having that darkness feel real is a different level of immersion. And that's what what VR is all about, right? Yeah. And so, like I say, I think if you've got a PSVR and you're like reluctant to spend more money because you spent a lot of money on PSVR and you got Call of the Mountain and you're enjoying it, download the Village demo, because I really do think it will convert a lot of people. And Village isn't that expensive on PlayStation right now, and so it's worth checking out. But sort of going back to Resident Evil 4, now I'm thinking, like, because doesn't it launch day one with VR support or first person support?
Honestly, I ain't got a clue. I think it must be. Huh. I don't remember, because I know we discussed it though, didn't we? We discussed about. Wasn't it?
Anyway.
No, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to speak out of my arse. I don't know.
If the option is there, I'd be very tempted, and maybe that's the wrong way to do it, but I'd be very tempted to just jump straight in VR.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. I'll do it as... the main reason I always wanted VR was to play these Resident Evil titles in VR, because, again, I'm a huge Resident Evil nerd. And the fact that I haven't done it yet is crazy to me. But yeah, no. You got to play it I said this is gonna sound mean, but you got to play it the proper way. Then you can play it the other way, okay? Like play it the way it was meant to be designed first, and then go and experiment.
I don't disagree. And to be fair, that like idea of tension and horror, I think if I play it in third person the way it was designed, and then go into VR, I'll still have all that tension and horror. I think if I play it in VR first time round and then go into the third person, it's all gone.
Absolutely.
And so actually, that's probably the better way to do it. You're probably right. As is showcased right now by Village and me being a scaredy little boy, walking off into the deep dark forest.
Anything else you've been playing?
More Hogwarts.
How you getting on?
Good, isn't it? It's good. My TikTok timeline has become AI voices reading out portions of the book while people walk around the castle and go, look how close it is.
Oh, interesting.
Great in it. It's cool. It's great.
Yeah, I've been playing a little bit more Hi-Fi Rush. Got for another level of that. Played a tiny bit more Hogwarts. I just haven't had. I'm planning on PC. And
yeah, me too.
I'm struggling. Do you know what? It's very interesting. I forgot how this sitting here feels like work to me now.
Yeah.
So I'm very much struggling to pull myself away. No, I'm struggling to pull myself back to the desk to want to play Hogwarts like this.
Yeah.
So I've downloaded it on my laptop, but then, bro, I love my laptop's amazing. Don't get it twisted. My laptop is amazing, but laptop for gaming just isn't it. For me, it isn't.
I get it.
Like,
I get it.
my battery runs out so bloody fast because you're gaming
yeah.
on it, and then you've got to go plug the bloody thing in, and then you've got to... And it's just like... Don't get me wrong. My laptop is amazing. Like, there's no joke about it. It's so powerful. It looks just as good on my computer than it does on my laptop. Same graphical fidelity and things like that. But the hassle sometimes, I'm just like, oh, do you know what?
100%. No, I totally agree with you. And you know, like, for something like Hogwarts, like, yeah, so like I've got a Razorbook 18 from 2018, so it runs great. It doesn't run great in comparison to watching Emma play on the OLED on the PS5. I'll say that much. But she is also playing it in fidelity mode, which kills me inside. I look up from my laptop and it's running at 30 frames. And I'm like, oh my god, it looks like a fucking stop-go animation.
I can't even tell. I'll be honest.
Really?
Oh, I can't tell at all. Yeah.
Oh, I can really tell. I think
Yeah,
it
but you're a
literally
tech
because...
guy.
But also, literally, I'm playing it in 60 frames on my lap and peering over my screen to look at the TV and seeing the difference. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So, but also, ray tracing, all the things. Looks great. Anyway. But yeah, like you're right. Gaming laptops are not laptops. Like, you can't run them on battery. You can't use the trackpad and keyboard built in to play the game. No. Like, that's a terrible experience. Unless you're playing like a RTS or something. I don't know. But
even
like,
then, bro, I don't like it.
exactly. So now Emma's off for the afternoon. I'm probably going to take my laptop into the living room, hook it up to HDMI into the TV.
Yep.
And play with an Xbox controller. Yep. Sat on the sofa, and that's like, well, I should have just got it on Xbox.
That's literally my thought process, which was like, whenever Haley's not in, I just want to play it on the big TV, but I don't want to have to plug in my computer to the TV or plug in my laptop to the TV because I just can't be bothered. And I'm just like, I should have just got this on Xbox. This is one of those games I should have got on Xbox.
Yeah.
These big open world games, like where you know you're going to be in it for hundreds of hours, I need to play on Xbox. And
that you at least shouldn't be playing on keyboard and mouse. I know you are for some reason.
I'm not anymore. I switched from controller.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a few games that came out that we haven't played yet. I think I'm actually gonna go house sit for my aunt in a couple of weeks. For like 4 days. So I think I'm just gonna take the 4 days off. I'm not gonna stream, I'm not gonna anything. And literally, from the moment Haley won't be indoors or anything, I think I might just use those 4 days of like, I am beating these video games while I'm here. Because I'll have so much time. I'm dog sitting, so they just need me to let the dogs out every now and then. So yeah, I'm looking forward to having that period. But when does Resident Evil 4 drop?
I don't know, but I was just looking. It's probably a bit late, but I was saying Road 96 Mile Zero is April 4th. That's probably a bit late for your time off.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I can play. I want to play that on stream anyway. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that'll be a one. I think I'll probably beat that in one sitting.
Yeah, probably, right?
I'll probably do like a 12-hour stream and just play it all day long. I love that game so much. So.
I don't know if it'll be that long, dude, but
whatever. whatever it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been playing stuff. It's just they're very big games. Hogwarts. Well, I say Hi-Fi Rush isn't the North Dead Space, but Hogwarts is, and that's the game that takes me so much time to do anything in. So yeah.
Yeah, because it's Distraction City in some of the best ways. Yeah, absolutely.
Agree. Let's jump into some this week's dashboard, man. Let's talk about some news. First up, Xbox and Nvidia have struck a deal. Something that's going to excite you, Matt, I assume. As part of Microsoft's continued attempt to get the Activision Blizzard deal over the line, we've seen them hit a few landmarks. There's a few. You've got Nintendo. Obviously, which they've gone into a big deal, and we've got a question about that later on in the show. And also, they've partnered with NVIDIA GeForce Now on cloud stuff. So, Matt, you're obviously into the cloud stuff. Do you know can you go into more detail on this, or what's going on?
Sure. I mean, it sounds like it's very similar to the Nintendo deal, a 10-year deal to bring Xbox games to NVIDIA GeForce cloud streaming services. It's interesting, right? Like, the Nintendo one is more interesting, I think. I think this just bolsters their sort of perception, or the perception that Microsoft want to get out there, that they are doing this to better allow more players to play more of their games. That is what they're putting out into the universe right now.
That's the message.
And that's what they're trying to back up. Exactly. It's not about us owning Call of Duty. It's about us giving Call of Duty to more people. That's the message, and this is part of that, I think. Ultimately, like, I don't know how many actual people this impacts. I don't, like, if you're streaming on GeForce now, you probably have the means to play this in a better way.
Yes.
But as we see this cloud streaming thing get better and better and better all the time, this is just another step towards that, and another step towards me being right in saying that in 10 years' time, the vast majority of people will only play cloud games.
No chance. Not 10 years. I think you're right overall, but not in 10 years.
Interestingly, what I think this also does is kind of confirm that, and I think this was probably a logical leap to make anyway, but that Call of Duty and Activision titles will be streamable on Xbox.
Yes.
Like, they're not just going to buy these games, put them in Game Pass, and allow you to download them through that. They're going to allow you to cloud stream through these as well, which which would have been an easy call to make, because you can do that in Halo, and if you can do it in Halo, why not do it in everything else as well? But yeah, it's just kind of more confirmation of that. And you know, we've been talking about this Activision deal feeling more and more like Playground sort of, you know, fights all the time. It's just another string to the bow for Microsoft to go, look, we're backing up what we're saying. We're just trying to give more and more people more access to these games.
I think ultimately, when you've got if you've got Nvidia on board, and you've got Nintendo on board, and you've got who else came out? 2K. Didn't 2K come out and say that they didn't need? No, it weren't 2K. Who came out saying they signed a deal but they didn't need to? Because Xbox always follow through. Was it 2K?
Was it for NBL? Is that not NBL?
No, it wasn't a game specific. I can't remember who it was. But there was someone that came out and said, like, we didn't need this, but sure. And it's just to me, it's like, okay, if all of these other companies are for it, and only one company is against it, do we not see the problem here?
Well, this is it. And you know, this all came out around this big meeting they had in Brussels.
Yep.
And some of the stuff that came out from that was really interesting. If you don't, go follow Tom Warren on Twitter, who's a Verge writer who was covering it out in Brussels, and his timeline over the last week or so is fascinating read.
Tom Warren is fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic at what he does. I follow him just for that reason alone, to be honest with you. But yeah, I saw some of the stuff coming out from the Brussels meeting as well, and I was like, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and again, a lot of it feels like Playground, you know, jabs and stuff. Like, they literally pulled out a contract of his pocket going like, this is the contract to give Sony Call of Duty for the next 10 years. I'm ready to sign it as soon as they are. Like, that's so, like, theatrical and dramatic to be like, I have a contract in my pocket and I walk around with it ready for Sony to come and sign. Like, ridiculous. And we're happy to amend it if they don't like the wording. Like, it's not real, is it? Like, it's all theatrics and, you know.
It is.
It's a good headline, though.
It is funny.
They know what they're doing. Yeah, well, it is funny. Yeah.
It is funny. I saw a bunch of stuff come out around that stuff, and it was like, I saw one of the, which I thought was very interesting, from Brad Smith, saying how Sony have 286 exclusives while Microsoft only have 59, and I was like, oof.
Yeah.
When you look at it like that, you're like, okay.
I can't quite remember if that 59 included. No, it can't do. I was going to say if it included things that would come over in the Activision deal, but they've.
No, not the Activision deal.
No.
Yeah, it's just We live in an interesting time right now. I can't wait for this to be over, bro. Honestly,
Yeah, I
the
know.
more we
Me
have to
too.
talk about, I'm just like, I'm
June.
so bored, so bored.
June.
Yeah, June.
We
can't come
might.
sooner.
To be fair, it feels like, with like the Brussels meeting and stuff like that, that kind of felt like a bit of a last ditch effort. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but
From who?
that from everybody, just to be like, right, we're all going to one spot. Let's figure this out.
Yeah.
But you know, these things are much more complicated than that, and so I'm sure it's not. But it felt like a bit of a turning point to just go, right, let's get everybody in one room, let's hash this out, do or die, let's go. And so maybe we hear quicker, like earlier than June, if this thing is happening or not, one way or the other, and they just commit, which I hope, because my God, let's be done with it. Maybe podcast 400 will be the last time we talk about it, and after that, it'll be decided. Maybe they'll do it for Phil Spencer's coming on this podcast.
No, he isn't.
On podcast 400,
nope,
and he's confirming the Activision deal's done.
I can confirm that that's not true. Next up, Harry Potter, Hogwarts Legacy. I don't know why it's dubbed Harry Potter because it's got nothing. It doesn't say Harry Potter, but whatever. That's
because SEO.
That's why. True. Hogwarts Legacy sells 12 million units in the first 2 weeks. This was taken from IGN. Jesus Christ. Hogwarts Legacy's numbers were revealed alongside Warner Bros. Discovery's earnings, which saw the company lose sums of 2.1 billion, which is crazy. But it looks like the game generated around 850 million in global sales. It had a peak viewership of 1.28 million on Twitch, which is a new record for a single-player game. Fuck J.K. Rowling. Obviously, I think we all knew this game was going to do gangbuster numbers. We all knew what was going to happen with it. Obviously, it's a weird one. Usually at this moment in time, I'd say congratulations. Obviously, to a company, feels a little bit strange to say congratulations in this regard because we know where that money is going, or where a portion of that money. Let me rephrase it. Who a portion of that money is going to? Not a lot. I'm sure it isn't crazy amounts, but when I say that, crazy amounts is relative, obviously. And we know where that money goes in terms of funding.
I think as well, like we can roll this into the next story, which gives it a little bit more context, right? Because like when you say this many million units, that doesn't mean a lot, I think, to a lot of people. But the next story is Elden Ring sells 20 million units since its launch. And so that gives you a better idea of what selling 12 million units in 2 weeks means and the power of that franchise.
I think this is the closest thing in the last 10 years that we've had compared to a GTA.
For sure.
In terms of on its sales, like in terms of off of the IP alone, right? You look at this and you go, wow, this is nuts. And it's a crazy sum. 12 million is crazy. It surprises me that it's taken this long to get a game in this world. And I just want everyone to know, don't be surprised because we're going to get a hell of a lot more. If you don't think we're getting DLCs and you don't think that we're getting another game now that they've got the groundwork for this one, you are very big mistaken.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, it's a system seller. Like people were going out and buying consoles because this game came out, which is huge. And so it's interesting to hear the Warner Brothers lost $2.1 billion.
That's over everything, though. That's over their whole company of what's going on and stuff. So, yeah.
Is there any way that they break off the games division and sell it?
Nope.
No, I think you're right. I think probably when you break down the pie chart of where any profits did come from, games is probably quite a big section of that.
If anything, I think they're going to see this now and go, okay, look what happens when we make these type of games with the IPs that we have. Like, we've been doing this wrong. Why are we going for this? And don't get me wrong, we look at Gotham Knights, and I guarantee Gotham Knights still sold well.
Yes.
Well enough. And then we look at Suicide Squad, and then they're gonna. I reckon both of those games do okay. And then someone in the other room, old man, jacket, probably white, goes, "Why are we not making as much as we did with Hogwarts? Why are we not making that?" And then someone's gonna go, "Well, that was a single player game, and that was obviously that IP." And then we go, "Okay, so why have we not made the single player? Where's the single player Superman game? Where's the single player Batman game? Like, obviously we've had those before, but I'm saying, like, where are they again? Like, I can see those questions being asked, and they've got even more IP than what I think some people forget. Like, we got the Superwoman game coming as well.
Yes.
That I think we all forget about sometimes. Wonder Woman.
Definitely.
Jesus Christ.
Definitely.
Wonder Woman game.
All they have to do for that game is show 10 seconds of gameplay and go, "Oh, and the Nemesis system's in it."
No
Done.
Nemesis system.
Done. That's it. That's all you need to do.
The Nemesis system's dead.
It can't be. They patented it.
It's patent pending.
They can't kill it. They can't kill it.
They literally can kill it. They own it, so they can kill it.
Then they shouldn't. They shouldn't.
Well, we all know that.
Do you think there's any way this spurs on a TV show, a new movie in this world?
What, for Hogwarts?
Yeah.
Oh, we're getting the curse. I think we get the cursed
child.
The cursed child.
The only reason I don't think they do Cursed Child. Spoilers for Cursed Child?
Don't even think about it. Don't even think about it.
Okay, fine.
I haven't been.
Fine, let's move on.
I think I know why. Because Haley's read the books. Harry Potter's not really in it too tough, right?
In it enough that you'd have to either cast Daniel Radcliffe or somebody else.
No,
and that's the reason I don't think they do it.
Oh, they do it. They're coming all back, bro. My TikTok lately has been very much like, "Oh, would you come back? Oh, would you come back? Oh, would you come back?" And I'm like, why do you not keep asking? Like, everyone's got a number. The number ain't high enough yet. But we all know what happens when that film comes out.
But the only reason that I think maybe not everybody has a number is because of J.K. Rowling. Like, doesn't Emma Watson, does she have a number where she's okay with this? I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if the answer is no.
Can I be honest?
Yeah.
Hot take. This is a hot take. She's the only one I'd be fine with them recasting. Not because I don't like her as a person or anything like that, but just because of her character. Like, she's the only one I'd be like, "Oh yeah, we had to recast her. She didn't want to do it." I'd be like,
Or if in like the promo for it, they're like, "Oh yeah, it's Cursed Child, but we've made some changes from the play. Hermione's just dead.
Hermione died.
Hermione she's just not in it.
She died as because I know it's about their kids. Someone pushed her in front of the train the kids were going on.
Oh wow. Wow.
See, I get dark. I don't know why I get so dark.
That's rough.
That's rough. I don't mean it. I'm sorry. I don't mean it. But yeah, anyway, let's go back to the Elden Ring story. Elden Ring sells 20 million units. Bandai Namco announced this in June of last year. That it was at about 16.6 million. So yeah, it looks like the Game Awards and things like that have pushed it over that 20 million mark. I saw a little comparison, as people do on Twitter, about obviously these Souls-like games, and I didn't realize that this one was the one.
Oh yeah,
like this one, I didn't. Like, I knew it was, don't get me wrong, I put it quite high on my Game of the Year list because I understood the fundamentals of the game being very good. I know I got slated for it by Crush, but I was shocked to see how well this is sold compared to Dark Souls and games like that, which crazy.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were talking when this came out as like, this is a good way to get into these games. This is a good way to get into Souls games, to try it out, because it allows you that freedom to go elsewhere if something is kicking your ass. It allows you that freedom to go grind if you have to somewhere else, whereas not all the Souls games kind of allow for that in a certain way. And so, or at least in a way that's kind of fresh and entertaining. Like, you would definitely stay in the same sort of, room in Dark Souls 1 and grind your way into oblivion for 20 hours, killing the same 3 dudes or whatever. That would be fine. But Elden Ring allowed for a lot more freedom and creativity and interest. Seeing new things in still doing that same thing. And so yeah, like it doesn't surprise me massively. I think as well, the sort of turn of TikTok and social media probably really helped this game. Like being able to see and experience later parts of that game without playing it yourself and then going, oh shit, this looks great. Like, this story is interesting. There's a lot of interest here. 30 hours into this game, and it's worth going through for it. And so yeah, I think a lot of things. I think ultimately every From Software game that comes out will probably outsell the last. Take that back. Every game in the Souls franchise.
You mean Armored Core's not going to sell 20 million? How dare you?
Would have thought not, but who knows? Maybe it's gonna be great. I'm sure it will be good. Sure, it will be great. But yeah, maybe not. But whatever Elden Ring 2 looks like. But of course, we know From Software are not against the idea of just straight up abandoning these franchises. How long have people been calling out for a Bloodborne 2? And it doesn't look like it's coming. And so maybe there is no Elden Ring 2. That would seem kind of crazy to me, that you've got this bigger hit on your hands and you don't go for an Elden Ring 2. But what do you think? Elden Ring 2? Yay or nay?
I'm so out of this conversation, like it's so above my pay grade. I'd say no. Just from the outside looking in. But then again, you got a Dark Souls 2.
You got a Dark Souls 3.
That's what I was gonna say. You got 3 of those, so why wouldn't you capitalize? It depends on the exact word I just mentioned. Like, are you trying to capitalize or are you trying to make new great experiences? We all know who made this game. We all know the studio that made this game, so we're gonna support whatever the next game is with whatever title. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't get it. No,
I think we're quite likely for the next game to be Dark Souls 4, and for it to be more open world like Elden Ring is. But that story, that universe, that world of Dark Souls. And like the stories are almost ambiguous enough for the 2 and 3 moniker to mean very little in those worlds, right? Yeah. And like, oh look, that sword was in the last game and now it's in this one as well. And that's kind of as much as that ties in. I know it's very simplified and not actually the case, but yeah, for the majority of players, the story is almost unattainable, and yet these games still do phenomenally well. And so yeah, I think a Dark Souls 4 is likely. Congrats on 20 million units. Yes. It'll only get bigger and better from here, I'm sure.
I agree. I do agree. Next up, a hero of mine in the games industry looks to be either leaving or moving on to something new. Shinji Mikami to leave Tango Gameworks after 13 years. Famed game developer Shinji Mikami, well known for directing the original Resident Evil and The Evil Within, is leaving Tango Gameworks after 13 years. Confirmed in a tweet from Bethesda, it read like this. We can confirm that Shinji Mikami has decided to leave Tango Gameworks in the coming months. We thank him for his work as a creative leader and supportive mentor to the young developers on the Evil Within franchise, Ghostwire Tokyo, and of course, Hi-Fi Rush. We wish Mikami-san well in the future, and we are excited what lies ahead for the talented developers at Tango, Bethesda. This one hurts, bro. This one hurts me, obviously, quite deeply. Obviously, I was super duper excited when Xbox picked up Tango, thinking we would get, obviously, lots of new survival horror experiences from Shinji Mikami specifically. I love the Evil Within franchise. I love the Resident Evil franchise. And yeah, this one hurt. I did tweet out no on Twitter. But yeah, it's I hope he doesn't leave games, but obviously he's been in the industry for an extremely long time, so no one will blame him if he does. I just don't think there's many minds like him in our industry, especially when it comes to survival horror. In pretty much which he didn't create, but he definitely, I think, would say popularized with the Resident Evil franchise. And yeah, I really wanted an Evil Within 3. as most people know, I love the Evil Within franchise, and I don't know if this means we don't get that now. Because again, it's so hard. I'm not inside these walls, right? So I don't know who was the one there going, we need Evil Within. We need it. Was it him or was it somebody else? Or I don't know, but I'm still excited for what Tango do. Obviously, especially coming off of Hi-Fi Rush. You can't doubt them, especially that game was so good. But I just hope we do get more survival horror and experiences from them.
Yeah, it's difficult to know, right? Because Hi-Fi Rush is so different.
Yep.
And obviously Shinji was like in that like announcement trailer during the developer direct. And I think he tweeted out as well, like the young people have grown up well in Tango, and he's got no concerns about it. But yeah, do we see them go back to doing survival horror, or is it just a very, very different studio now? And is that part of the reason that they're off? I don't know. But if your question is, do you think we get Evil Within 3? I think probably the answer is no, heartbreakingly, for you, or at least not anytime soon. Because I think like for you care enough to know when that game does get announced. It's not Shinji.
No, it's not Shinji Mikami.
And that's
yes, I do care enough. You're correct.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people who like that franchise care enough to know and to have questions and concerns around that. And so part of me thinks even if they are going to do survival horror now, you're almost better off stepping away from Evil Within and doing something different and new. So that you don't have that kind of baggage or those questions being asked as much. But of course, they probably have something or several things in pre-production already under Shinji that he's leaving behind. And so maybe there is an Evil Within 3 that is relatively fleshed out from at least a story point of view or a, outline point of view or whatever, enough for a really good foundation. It'll be interesting to see. And it'll be interesting to see what he does next. Like you say, this could be it. It wouldn't surprise me massively if this is retirement. But that hasn't been said.
No, hasn't come out. Nobody has come out and said anything yet. So
exactly.
Fingers
but
crossed, he goes back to Capcom and he goes and works on the Resident Evil franchise to bring it back to being great again.
He walks in the door. Code Veronica remake. Let's go.
Don't think he works on Code Veronica. But sure, I'll let him.
No, I'll make it better. Let's go.
Okay, perfect. It was a great game, but sure, perfect. Next up, Baldur's Gate 3 was also announced and spoke about at the State of Play. Didn't put it in that block because it is not coming to Xbox, which at the moment... Well, again, I'm getting there. Don't bury the lead. I'm trying to build up to it. Don't bury the lead. I've been a podcaster for many years. 400 weeks almost. All right. Don't bury the lead. It isn't coming to Xbox yet. There's a reason for it though. Obviously, when this was shown at the State of Play, that is coming to PS5 and obviously release date for PC. There was a lot of questions swirling. It has nothing to do with exclusivity. Which is very interesting. I read this story ahead, actually, just so I can get the best part of it. But it came out from the CEO, Sven Viken, I believe, and he told Game Industry .biz back in 2019 that they wouldn't play the exclusivity game, and they stuck to that. The reason the game isn't coming to Xbox day one is they are struggling to get the co-op mode to work exactly the same way across the Series S and the Series X. They're struggling to optimize it for less powerful hardware is the important thing here.
Well, I mean, you're reading between the lines there. We all know that the Series X holds the Series S back in almost every regard when every other game comes out. And the Series S is the place to play most of these games, apparently, according to Crash. And so... we don't know which way around it is.
Larn underlines once again that the Series S console is making some developers sweat as they try to optimize around the less powerful hardware. It's not the first time we've heard complaints about the Series S after all.
I think it is the first time we've ever heard complaints about the Series S.
It is, funnily enough. But it does leave us in a bit of an interesting situation, right?
Yeah.
have Xbox shot themselves in the foot? We know how well the Xbox has sold this generation, in comparisons, especially to previous generations, in part to the Series S. Having a lower model out there that is less powerful, has worked in ways of making sales, but hasn't been fun for developers. And missing out on an experience like this, Baldur's Gate's a fantastic game. I've played it. It's, if you're into D&D and you're into these type of games, it's one of the best out there on the market in early access on PC at the moment. Obviously, we spoke about it actually when it came out full. It's like, oh, we should do a little thing on my Xbox and me. Which obviously now, maybe not. We'll see.
We can play on PC.
Yeah, we can play on PC. But yeah, it's definitely a shame the Xbox players are not going to get to experience this, right?
For sure. And I think this is the first time that we're, at least publicly, we're seeing like real, like we don't get this kind of candid, and we don't get this kind of candid chat typically in the games industry. For them to come out and be like, hey, this is the exact issue that we're having. It's because of the Series S and it's split screen, and that's the deal. It's really interesting. I wonder, like, obviously this is the first circumstance we're at least hearing of this happening. We all know that games get easier to develop for and get better from a performance point of view as these console life cycles go on, right? The games that come at the end of the life cycle are so much better than at the start. And so if we're getting these issues now, hopefully these issues can be ironed out as the consoles get a bit older and people understand how to adapt this better, right? We're pathfinding here by doing this split screen intensive work on the Series S. Once it's been unlocked by Baldur's Gate, hopefully that makes life easier for everybody else who tries to do the same thing. But I wonder if there is, and I wonder how much backlash there would be if they said it's not coming to Series S day one. It's coming to Series X. We figured that out, and so we can do that, and Series S is going to have to come later. Of course, that puts you in a sort of slippery slope of eventually just going, we can't do it on Series S, and therefore now it's the first game that's on X and not S. Maybe Microsoft would never let that happen. I don't know.
I don't think they'll ever. What do you think? I don't think they'll ever let that happen.
I agree. I agree. But like,
I wish I was wrong.
Maybe at some point
I wish I was wrong. I just don't think they can. I think the way they marketed the series consoles is buy what you want, play it where you want, and I think it was the thing that we spoke about back then, which was very much like, oh, is this going to work out? And now we see the ramifications of it not working out, where it has in certain other ways. Don't get me wrong. Like, look at Forza. Forza runs perfect on that game. That game is amazing. It looks amazing on there. But it's very easier. It's a lot easier for first party than compared to third party. So, yeah.
So, all right then. So let's go down kind of the slippery slope. Do you think there's any way they would say we can't do split screen on the Series S, but the games are exactly the same, but you can only play online with your friends on Series S. You can't do local split screen. It's just one feature, one little feature that we've taken out so that you can still experience it.
It's little to me and you because we don't care about it. And so I agree with you. I think that's what I would have rathered. I would have rathered that. But can you imagine the fanboy wars that would have happened on Twitter of, oh my god, you got a less inferior version of the game. There's things that you can't even do on that console, blah 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 blah. If I was them, that's how I would have launched it personally and been like, look, we didn't want you to not get the game, Xbox players. So we've decided to launch it without this feature, but maybe it's not as easy to do that, Matt. I assume it's not that easy to just not launch with a key feature, and maybe that goes against their entire way they want the game to be played as well. You know.
So then the next step then is to say on Series S, you have to stream it.
Yeah, cloud.
That's the only way to. Cloud only on Series S. Download it on Xbox Series X and it works fine. You can play local split screen. But on Series S, you have to stream it. You think that's more likely?
I think that's way more likely. Because then it doesn't go against Xbox's way of saying, there's still a way to play this game on this system. Now, is it the way you want? Absolutely not. But there is a way. And Baldur's Gate actually is a game that would actually work fine in streaming.
Because it's turn-based. Yeah.
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 But I see that world way more than I see a world where they go, you can. We're still, as much as it's been a while, we're still very early on in the life cycle.
Yeah.
What are we? I see us getting revisions of these consoles in maybe 3 years.
Yep.
Maybe
think
that's when
right.
the moment comes. I just don't know. I generally don't know. I'm very interested to see who makes the first play in the revisions, because the PS5 is a fucking bulky boy. Let me tell you.
Too right.
So, yeah. Last story this week, Matt. Looks like we're getting a Mortal Kombat 12. I did the show notes this week and saw this one out there on the interwebs. It looks like during a live stream, someone accidentally confirmed Mortal Kombat 12. So yeah, it was I think there was also an earnings call at WB, which we spoke about earlier, right? And I think it may have been mentioned there as well in some capacity. So yeah, Mortal Kombat 12 looks like it's confirmed and looks like it could be coming this year. So,
really?
Big year. I mean, that's what it's looking like. It's looking like it's Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. Obviously, they've already put out Hogwarts Legacy and Mortal Kombat, which is a big old year for WB.
Big year. Well, maybe they're trying to claw back some of that $2.1 billion.
Well, it looks like Hogwarts has probably helped with a lot of that, with the 800.
It's probably true. Yeah, it's a shame Crash isn't here. This is the sort of thing that he would pop off for, isn't it? But he'll be around next week, and I'm sure
he's a Mortal Kombat fan.
He's just a fighting game fan. All right, maybe he wouldn't pop off for it, but he'd have a lot more to say on it than we do.
Yes. One question this week, so we jump into it. It's from a Wild John. He says, what kind of titles do you see hitting the Switch/Nintendo with this deal? Which he's obviously talking about the 10-year deal we spoke about earlier. I foresee we see some smaller titles like Hi-Fi Rush or Ori 3. Ori 3? Jesus, you think we get an Ori 3?
Yeah, I think we get an Ori 3 at some point, yeah.
Maybe Fallout Shelter, if that isn't already on there. I believe it is. Also, possibly a use of cloud technology to play games like Morrowind or Forza 5 from a Wild Yami. Yeah, I think this 10-year deal is going to do a lot with streaming, because you've already seen they're already doing it in Japan. For like Resident Evil, I know like the new Resident Evil titles, you have to play those through streaming on the Switch. I think that's 100% what this deal is. I don't think you're going to see natively Forza running on the Switch or whatever the next Nintendo console is. I think it's going to be a case of this is how Xbox are going to get people to play ball. Streaming's going to be getting better with time. We have the infrastructure and we have games, and if we have these IP, we will not block you from getting these IP. So in some way, shape, or form, you will be able to play Call of Duty, Gears of War, Forza, etc., etc., etc. But it will be through cloud, and that's it.
Well, so I can't remember. You'll have to remind me who tweeted out the initial. It was like a white background, black text, and it's somebody from Xbox, and they were saying, "We've signed this deal." Brad Smith, thank you. Signed this deal to bring Xbox games to Nintendo platforms for the next 10 years. Recently, I think yesterday, he got taken down, and he didn't get taken down. That tweet got taken down, and he re-put up a new one that said, we're going to bring Call of Duty to Nintendo for the next 10 years. And so I don't know if we're in a space where we do see a Gears of War or Forza or anything like that streaming on Nintendo. I don't fully disagree. But then what do you think that looks like? Do you really think we get like a Game Pass app on Switch? I can't ever see that happening.
No, I think they'll do it the same way they're doing it now, right? Which
with
is
like Resident Evil and stuff.
Yeah, I think it'll just be a case of like you still have to. I believe you still have to buy the game, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
I think it will just be that. The Switch, to me, I'm beyond the Switch already. I don't even think about the Switch. This isn't a Switch conversation, and I think that's what some people get hung up on. They get hung up on the Switch. I think Nintendo have seen that the only way they make money is obviously off their consoles and off their first party, right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't keep enough people wanting to be on the system. So they have to start moving and making different moves. And what do Xbox not have? A foothold in Japan. What do Nintendo have?
Yeah.
A foothold in Japan. There's no reason. I don't see why ultimately they won't eventually just go, you know what? You want to play Gears of War through cloud? Go ahead. why do we care? It's still not the best way to play games, and that will become the marketing. Will be the best way to play our video games on Xbox will be on our Xbox Series 12, and that is what we believe is the best console on the market. Yada 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 yada. Like,
I totally agree. Do you think there's any sort of hint in all of this that a new, more powerful Nintendo hardware is on the horizon, and maybe it's not gonna be a streaming only thing that gets offered up, and that whatever they've got coming next is powerful enough to run the next Call of Duty?
No, it's Nintendo. They're still behind the curve. Right now, they never seem to be able to, like when you're building, Xbox are already building the next Xbox right now. They're already building it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But for some reason, they understand what we need in the future, where Nintendo always seem to go, but we like square controllers, but we like motion, but we like handheld, which handheld was great at the start, but now you've got a thing like the Steam Deck, and I'm like, I'm never touching my Switch ever again. And again, that IP, and I'm speaking only from my point of view. That's what I do here. This is my podcast. I talk about me. The IP isn't even strong enough anymore for me that I go, I have to have this.
I totally agree.
Pokemon Arceus was the game that I was like, okay, you've done something different with Pokemon, but it looks like garbage. And I'm done with playing games that look like garbage. Tell me it don't look like garbage.
Fair enough. I mean, look, what I would say is maybe the prettiest Nintendo first-party title, maybe Mario Odyssey, parts of that, or I was going to say Breath of the Wild.
Yes, I agree with both
and so
of those.
It's possible. It's not Pokemon's MO for some reason, but it's possible. And so,
Dude,
but even then,
I can't wait for Hogwarts Legacy to come out on Switch.
Mate, I like what we were saying earlier with the Series S. Like, if they launched something to the Series X and said they were going to put it on the Series S soon, it wouldn't surprise me if that just fell off and never happened. I mean, we could pizza bet this right now, but I would not be surprised if it never comes to Switch. Hogwarts Legacy.
I'm not willing to take that bet. I'm not willing to. I'm sorry.
But also, we can never do a pizza bet where the time frame is ever. Because we'll be here forever. So we'd have to say like this year.
And plus, the podcast might be ending in like 3 weeks. So who knows?
That's true. It's true. So who knows? We'll be eating pizza.
Let's plug and get ourselves out of here. Matt, we got to plug this week.
Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell. We've got cool stuff coming up, like episode 400, which is going to be hype. Phil Spencer on the podcast confirming the Activision deal. Oh my goodness. But no, we do have some cool stuff coming up. Next week's going to be fun, I'm sure.
We need to get back to streaming. We need to get back to streaming.
We do.
YouTube streaming so dead.
Yeah.
So dead. Yeah. Is what it is. You can find me everywhere at MC Fixer. I should have a new music video coming out relatively soonish. So you can go check that out. Hopefully it should be out soon. Keep supporting the podcast. Keep telling people that you care about the podcast. Keep reviewing the podcast. Comments, engagement, just engagement. I promise you. Just let us know that you still care, and we'll still keep doing it. But if it all goes quiet, that's when I don't want to get out of bed at 10 o'clock to do it. And I enjoyed this episode, I've got to say. Until next time, I love you. Leave it. See you later. Goodbyes.
Love you. Bye.